more than teaching, people say I'm better at answering questions. So don't be, yeah, I mean, if you have a question, just pop out and we'll deal like that.
So who sits down and decides where this process begins? Is it the cinematographer, the director?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Phil and I were talking about that. Filmmaking really is a very fluid thing. There's not a 100% everybody is going to do it the same way. It's collaborative. The director will probably be involved. The writer will be involved. The script supervisor should be involved at some point. Some productions, probably even the editor might even be involved in it. And it's just the producer, definitely. And then there's a job called a production manager, and they are kind of the guys who really produce the daily what's going on, making sure that the food is there, making sure that the cinematographer has what he needs, and kind of really runs the whole thing. It's a very kind of a job you don't hear about a lot, but it's really more the guy who gets things done on the set when it's there. I mean, those are good jobs in the actual film for money world and stuff like that. So anyway, the scene numbers are what's important when you're doing your shot list. So you've got scene 1, like I said, it's going to be on both sides of the paper. The page number of a script is always down at the bottom. It's never up in a corner or anything like that because it can get confused with the scene numbers and stuff. But you've built your script, and that's when you want to start. Maybe once you've broken down the scene, you know what each element is that it's going to have. That's when the director should sit down and start maybe going over a shot list. There are so many different ways to make this shot list, but what the shot list is basically a tool for working efficiently. You know, if you have a good shot list and you go step by step through it, your day should go pretty fast. I mean, we did what, 8-hour days when we worked on this movie, and we got everything we wanted.
Isn't the shot list also the director's ability to tell the story?
Yeah, to visualize it and things like that, and they use film language to make the shot list. So if so we're going to film something and I'm directing it, and I know that we need to film scene 1 tomorrow, maybe scene 2, maybe scene 10, whatever it is we're filming, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to make a shot list for everybody there, and then I'm going to give it to the cinematographer and the script supervisor if they have one, and the producer, and probably whoever else might need one on the set. And then they're all going to know really what's going through my head. And they're all going to know the same language. So the cinematographer's going to look, and when he says dolly in close-up, he knows that, okay, we're going to be moving the camera on a dolly towards the person, and we're going to end up in a close-up. And he knows that's going to be roughly about like that or whatever. So he'll have an idea, and so then he'll know immediately after we've done the shot, okay, this is next, we can start getting the setup and the lighting for that done. So just, if you have a good shot list and everybody's aware of it and everybody knows what it's saying, you can kind of move pretty fast and get going from there. And it's not always written in stone. The shot list is just kind of your plan for the day and how things are going to work. One film, some of you might have seen, Angel of Death. There's a scene in it, as the title implies, where somebody dies. And they were around a poker table, and we had this thing, we were going to have a little medium shot of the guy, and he's poisoned, so he just kind of falls down on the table and the foam starts coming out of his mouth. And so we shot that and we were ready to move on, but he did it and it fell down, and it happened to be a glass tabletop. And so he falls down and he hits it, and the stuff comes out on the glass, and I didn't even have to tell the cinematographer. It was like we both hit, we just looked at each other and yeah, we need a shot from underneath, So he's taking the camera off, getting it ready before I even explained, and we added that. Wasn't on the shot list. We added it. Maybe the script supervisor may know, that's actually the best shot in the movie. So, so, you have a little fluidity, and you want to be open for improvisation and improving on something. But the shot list still gives you an idea of how the day is going to progress and what shots you need to tell the story. A shot list can be, some shot lists are for a scene, one shot. If you have a guy like maybe Martin Scorsese or somebody who can have the camera move around and tell the story and what everybody's feeling and the emotion in that one camera movement, that's all you need, But then you have other guys like Michael Bay, who does, the Transformer movies and stuff like that, who takes a scene and has 75 or 80 camera setups for that scene, because his style is to have all these different cuts from all these different angles, and stuff like that. So the important thing, I think, like Mike said, is that it's the director's job to tell the story and to tell it without a lot of inefficiency, A camera shot that's done just for the sake of it being, ooh, wow, that looks good, is not as effective as a camera shot that's done that really brings out the emotion in the scene, And the best way really to learn that is just watch a lot of movies, and watch them a couple times and see why did this happen, And you'll notice that there are some things that guys will, like Steven Spielberg, if you watch his movies, there's almost every movie he's going to have some dolly shot where it's coming into the person, where the music's swelling, and you watch that and you go, oh, that's Steven Spielberg, You don't even need to know the director, see the title to know who did it. Most movies will have a ton of stuff that's been shot that they just don't use. They decide it's not necessary for the story. I think Bob had to learn that when we did the thing. He had a couple of, the ending. He wanted this big long ending, and we decided to just end it on more of just a quick 1 or 2 words and stuff, and that's hard for the writer when you're like, hey, I just wrote this great, okay, sorry, The master of that was probably Steve McQueen. If you ever watch his movies, there were a number of times where he would purportedly have these huge bits of monologue and stuff like that, and he'd come to the director and he'd say, how about if I just say these 3 words? Oh, okay, because he'd get across what that whole monologue said with just the 3 words. He's Steve McQueen, and he'd bring across that essence of the story that only he could do. And that's why I say it's collaborative. Everybody's got an idea. It's the director's job to hear all the ideas, but it's ultimately them that says, okay, that's a great idea, but no, we're moving in this direction. We need to keep here, something like this. But here again, the shot list can help with that because it keeps you focused on what needs to be done and what needs to be done throughout the day. So I would recommend, the beauty, I think, of this club is just get in and do all the different roles. Learn how to do it. Whatever the next one you guys pick, somebody that's never done it, like, okay, I'll direct it. And then if you're worried about it or you're nervous about it, come up and talk to Phil or I. Well, say, well, try this, or this is what you need to do next, or something like that. But you kind of get that feel for what each aspect is, and then the next time, say, I'll try editing it or whatever. Learn the different aspects.
Well, I know that one of the things you decided on with respect to the shot list was that it'd be P.O.V. Can you talk about why you decided that it had to be that way?
When you're doing the shot list, like I said, you work a kind of language. So you might say, like, the first shot, 1A, is going to be like a close-up. So you just write CU and everybody would know that's close-up. POV stands for point of view. And what that shot is any shot that's done from the person's point of view. So, if it's a point of view shot, the camera might be, the camera would technically be where the guy's face is. So you might have a shot of that, and you'd see a hand come in and grab it. And that's clearly the person's point of view. That's what they see. A point of view shot now for me would be all of you, because that's what I'm seeing right now. So in this film, the gist of it was that this guy is attached to this machine that makes him relive the crime. So my thought on that was, if you're reliving something, it's going to be from the point of view, from your point of view, because you're the one who went through it. So we were originally going to do it just from the killer's point of view. And we were going to use mirrors and stuff so that you could see it was him, kind of that kind of trick. And that got to be a little too much and a little too thing. So we thought, well, let's make it he can see everybody's point of view. So we had some shots from the kid's point of view. And this actually was born from the fact that we couldn't find a child. the two maxims of filmmaking are never work with kids and animals. And we had Bob wrote this script, and I think it was supposed to be like a 4 or 5 year old girl or something like that. And we looked at him, and the one girl we finally found just stage fright. She would not do anything, and none of the others. When they, found out that the kid was going to be killed in it violently, they're like, "Oh, I don't think I want my daughter to do that." Well, okay, that's fair, but down in Hollywood, nobody cares. So the parents we would have been inundated with kids, but we couldn't find this girl. So we thought, well, maybe what we should do is use like a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old, make it a little. But Bob was dead. He felt that the true emotion from the script came from the fact that it was a young girl, like a 3 or 4 year old. And we'd already torn up enough of his script. We felt we should give him something. So he's not here, I can say that. So we're like, okay, well, if that, if that's important, then, and I think we even talked about it as a group, because that's here again what I like about this is it is a group process. So we thought, okay, we'll do it. So how are we going to do this if we don't have a girl who says all these lines? This girl had, I don't know, 10 or 12 lines of dialogue or something like that in the original script, and we couldn't find anybody. So we thought, well, let's do it from the girl's point of view. So we had a girl that had stage fright, and we sat her in the back of the car and established that she was in the car seat in the back. We had the mirror, and the mother kind of looks, and you can see the girl in the car seat and stuff like that. So once we'd done that, we just assumed, okay, everybody knows there's a girl in the back of the car seat, so we'll do it from her point of view, and they'll just assume. So that's why when the killer is killing, it's that type of thing. He's strangling her, so she sees his arm and his face screaming at her and stuff like that. And if we had had more time, I would have liked to have seen us like slowly fade the, like she was dying, slowly fade to black as he's strangling her. But we had to get it out fast. We didn't have time to do some of those things. But that's the kind of thing you work with. Film, unfortunately, by its very nature, unless you're here again, Steven Spielberg, and you can spend $50 billion doing that, you're limited by your time and your money. So part of what a good shot list does is help you maximize that, so you can get enough to tell the story. You can adjust if you need to, but if you're running out of money or you're running out of actors and actresses, okay, what are we going to do? All right, let's just do it this way. We'll cut this, we'll take that, we'll do that. You just do what you have. They say that a finished movie never looks as good as the dailies or as bad as the first cut.
So which movie is it that has the POV of the girl getting strangled?
The one that's playing here,
one.
that thing.
That sounds like a very powerful image. I have not seen it yet.
It did not work as well as I wanted it to.
Uh-huh.
I think it works. I think we did, like I said, I think with the time and the money that we had, I don't think it worked as well as I wanted.
Is that you?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the knife and the arm.
Honey?
Somehow I ended up. We didn't have any homicidal maniacs either.
So you got to film.
So I got stuff down. Yeah. So we had a guy who was going to play. I was just going to play the prisoner at the beginning, and we had a guy. Can't remember his name. We thought would look good as me younger because we kind of had the same nose structure, but I don't think he wanted to play a bad guy. I think he was a little.
Oh yeah.
I think he just felt like somebody raping and murdering a pregnant woman was just a little too much. So we were trying to figure out. So we kept looking in there again. We couldn't find anybody else that could pull it off. So we're like, well, okay, we can take the gray out of the beard. Yeah, we can take the gray out of the beard. So that's what we did. So anyway, yeah. So it's supposed to be. I don't know if you can kind of see. It's supposed to be from her point of view. And I'm jumping over the seat, and the mother's on the left over there. I think at some point we'll watch the whole thing again, and you can kind of see it. And we'll do the director commentary kind of thing. We can just talk about some of the stuff we had during it. But like I said, I think it worked. It just didn't work as well as it did in my head.
It's also, some of you have seen it, some of you haven't. I edited it, and there are effects in here for show. It's not a perfect POV
Right.
where it's perfect normal color and normal. It's very weird and kind of
Fuzzy.
yeah, it's fuzzy and there's effects. It moves in and out. It was a purposeful choice.
Yeah.
It was a
Artistic
choice
license.
because it's
Because of the emotions.
Right.
he's hooked onto a machine. It's part of the machine malfunction, the
Yeah,
emotion. It just kind of works. I
think it does. It's just like I said, it just wasn't as emotionally, and I think it might have been actually had we had a girl who was a little more visible, you know,
Did
and
you
stuff
get
like that.
actually
Because then,
strangled?
well, what I was going to say is if we'd had a girl who was crying, you would
have
have,
hand up or something.
yeah, or, you know, something like that, or even seen my hand, from my point of view, seen my hand going for her throat. Just, and it wouldn't even have to have touched her. But if you'd seen my hand going for her throat and her screaming or crying,
Yeah.
you know, 1 second would have been enough in your head to make the connection.
Yeah.
But, or maybe I just, because I was saying this other movie I did a number of years ago, there was this scene where the bad guy is giving a monologue. I'm sorry, the bad guy's buddy is giving a monologue. And I wanted to see the bad guy's face. So I just said, and it was literally, this was the scene where it was just one shot. That was all we had for that particular scene. And so the shot was set up so that you saw the bad guy's face and his buddy was kind of off in the back giving his monologue. And, you know, just very slowly it would dolly in towards the bad guy as he's listening to his buddy and his reactions are getting more. And it worked. But when we were on the set, the guy, I felt bad for him. He's like, "This was my big monologue. Aren't you going to get any coverage for me?" And I'm like,
You're the
no,
fuzzy guy in the back.
yeah, trust me, this will be fine. And in retrospect, you know, I probably could have used a close-up on him, so I should have gotten it. But, you know, this just gives you an idea of what the different types of shots are when it comes time to make the list. Like we talked about, there's medium shots and close-ups and everything like that.
What does naughty shot mean?
That's a shot. I've done these before. Essentially, it's just a shot. Have you ever seen an interview with two people?
Yeah.
And essentially, it's just cutting back to the person listening
Right.
to them answer.
Yeah,
It's-
nodding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So naughty
oh,
shot
yeah,
is kind
oh,
of
that's
a weird
great.
way to put it. Though.
And-
It's kind of an odd wording.
And usually, when they take those shots, they're not listening to anything. They're just going. And the guy's, you know, had his interview. It is not I've actually done some interviews where we've gone and interviewed the guy, and we just ask him the questions behind the camera, and then 3 or 4 days later we go to the person who's supposed to be interviewing them, have them ask questions to us, and sit there and go, you know, and then you edit the two together, and nobody knows the difference. So this gives you an idea of the different types of shots. An EWS is an extreme wide shot. A wide shot. MS, I would just call it a medium shot, a medium close-up. Extreme close-ups, those are always fun, you know, where you get, you know, Sergio Leone and the dollar, Clint Eastwood, and the close-up of the gun, and the close-up of the eyes, and the furtive glances and stuff like that.
What's a cut-in shot? When would you use that?
Cut-ins are just, you see them all the time. There again, like if, you know, we're having this scene or something like that, and, you know, I pull this up and I'm drinking and we're sitting there talking and stuff like that. You know, you just get a close-up of me like that would be considered a cut-in. It's just something to add in there to make a little, usually it's if something is important too, they will cut into it. So if you watch the movie and like there's a close-up of them setting the pen down and it lingers on it for more than a second or two, that pen is important for some reason. You know, there's some reason that pen is going to kill somebody, or, you know, or it's going to have the secret map in it, or whatever. There's an important. All the shots are used for a particular reason. You know, to bring out tension, maybe to draw your attention away from something, whatever it might be. And that's what cut-ins are just good for that. They're also, editors like them because, you know, like say we got a shot of the clock or something, and I'm watching a scene or something like that, and it's just not working. You know, maybe the actors are taking a little too much time, or it's a little boring or something like that. Well, then I have something that maybe if I cut to the clock in the middle of one of the scenes while he's saying something, it makes it go smoother, makes it, you know, gives you a read. Or we were shooting and we forgot to have the close-up of this guy saying his line, but we have the line on audio on something else. Well, then we can cut to the clock, but you can hear the audio, or cut to the reaction of the guy and hear, you know, it just gives you more room to play with too. So They're just good to have. A lot of directors will, after you've shot the scene and everything like that, they'll go and they'll get, extreme close-ups of drinks and clocks and anything like that, just so that the more coverage you have, the easier it is for the editor, basically, too. But it should have, like I said, a good director will have a reason for it. Sergio Leone builds his suspense by having those close-ups.
I was gonna say, like, when we were creating the shot list and doing all of that, would it be smart to have like a storyboard so you can like draw out, visualize what kind of shots, and so you can plan your shot type to try it and actually see.
And that's why I say a shot list, when you're developing a shot list, there is no necessarily right or wrong way to do it. A lot of if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna spend $1 billion to make a movie, you should probably try and make it as good as possible and get particularly the special effects movies where everything has got to be so wired in and stuff like that. That's what they do next. After they've got the shooting script, the director might sit down and they might come up with storyboards, and from the different storyboards they get an idea of a shot. Basically, what you want to do once you got your script, and if you're directing it, is just read it over and over and over again. A good script should have everything you need in there, and just visualize it and start making a list of every conceivable thing you could. Oh, well, what would happen if, I shot it from this way and stuff like that. And just kind of, as you're, painting the house or something like that, and you're thinking of the scene and you're like, ooh, what if, I framed Galen's ear in it or something like that. Yeah, that, just you come up with all these different things and you just kind of make notes of it. And you can do it with storyboards, you could do it with just your own imagination or whatever, and you just come up with this big list, and then when it's time to get down, you go, okay, I can only do a certain amount of things, so this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. Another big storyboard guy was Alfred Hitchcock. He used storyboards quite a bit, and I think he had something like 70 different shots just for the shower scene in Psycho. But if you ever get a chance, if you've never seen the movie, check out, it's a movie called Rope. And it was one of Alfred Hitchcock's, and it was an interesting, there were like 8 master shots, and that was it. So he tells the story with the camera going through, and basically one man, now probably took him 3 weeks to do one master shot, but they did it out, he told the story, and so 8 shots, and he just found the editing points between those 8 shots, and he ended up, and it's actually a very good movie. Jimmy Stewart, how can that be bad? I think the reason that a master shot is not on here is because a master shot can encompass any one of these.
Well, that's it.
If we were doing, in the old days, if we were shooting a movie, let's just do something simple. So we've got, the table. Did I mention I'm not an artist, so I don't storyboard? But so we've got 2 guys talking with a table in front of them or something like that. The very first thing, and we're just for ease, we're doing, the script is, shooting script, it's scene 1. So we just got the 1 there. The very first shot that they would do would be called the master shot. And it's always, when you're making your shot list, no matter what anybody tells you about 1A, B, or C, the master shot is always just the number of the scene, on the slate when they go like that. The master shot is always the first number. And usually what they would do for a master shot is they would just set up the camera and maybe frame everybody from a distance, and then they'd run the scene. So that's your first shot. You're just running the scene from the master, they play it out from beginning to end. Then, in the old days, and I think it still works, basically you work out to in. So you've taken this wide shot. So now the next one you might do might be more of it's not going, but you might do a 2-shot of them. So you're getting rid of all this and you've got them a little closer. So you're seeing just the 2 of them. That one would be 1A, okay? But it's not considered a master shot, it would be a 2-shot. So we're making a shot list. We go 1 is the master, and then you give a little description, static, full frame, or whatever, see both of them. Whatever you want to describe that shot, that's your master. So then 1A, we're going to do a 2-shot. After we've done the 2-shot, then we want to maybe get a medium shot of Jimmy Stewart or something like that. So, whatever character that is, now we're doing 1B. Got 1 shot. be a medium shot. We're just seeing him. It's kind of from here, something like that. Then our next one might be a medium shot of Jenny or whatever her name is. Jenny, medium shot. So, we'll give her hair. So you've started out, you've gotten a shot of both of them. Then you've gotten a shot closer of both of them. Then you've kind of gone one. So now, okay, so now maybe we want to do something a little different. So we're going to do what they call an over-the-shoulder shot. So 1D, we're going to go over shoulder. And so the camera would be here, kind of, we see Jenny's shoulder, but it's face on Galen, so we're actually seeing the front of his face. See? Then you might want to do an over-the-shoulder shot the other way. Right. You know. So you move in there. So then now you've got the close-ups. Those are usually close-up, but you're seeing everything. So then the director thinks, well, I'm just making this stuff up. Jenny has a twitch, and we need to accentuate that. So 1E is going to be the extreme close-up of Jenny's twitch, because that plays an important role. So, you know, then the camera's here, and we're just getting the close-up, basically, of her eye, you know. So it's going like that. But it's building in. It's just going in. So part of what you do is, that's what improv is for, right? So part of what you do is you take your scene, and you think, okay, this is what's going to happen, whatever the scene is, whether it's two guys sitting at a table, whether it's, you know, the Battle of Troy or something like that. You start out, you see all this action, and then you slowly move in and get all the coverage you need, everything like that. And it can be, like I said, as simple as maybe for the scene all you need is those three, or you might be going. Basically, it goes to, so we've done 1, A, B, C, D, E. So finally we go and we're at 1Z, or 12. We're at 1Z, but we think, you know, I really liked Jenny's twitch, so we're going to get it from a different angle. So then you go 1AA. And you go all the way through 1AB, 1AC, kind of like that. So you can build your shot list from just a little bit to, but the most efficient way to work is to sit there and think about it and go, okay, first I need the expanse, then I'm going to move in and get it. And that's done for a number of reasons too. Like, okay, let's say we're you know, everybody here is getting paid. We're all SAG actors or something like this. And this is a scene where, you know, we're sitting there and we're having a discussion and everything. And then Galen and I, at the end of the discussion, get into this big fight.
Because you want more money than he does.
Yeah, or something like that. Or just, you know, an argument or something. Well, if we take the whole shot and everything like that, we get in, and then we need, you know, we're starting to get close-ups. At one point, we don't need any of you anymore. Yeah. Because we've already established that you're there. You know, so maybe we've spent the morning shooting everybody here. And so rather than pay you guys overtime or extra or whatever like that, we're going to get rid of you because all we need now is just Galen and I for the afternoon.
Shot, so
yeah, we've already got the shots. You don't have to be there while we're arguing. We've already got you going or whatever, you know, and stuff like that. So the rest of the afternoon it's just us, and it's more efficient for the production. So that's why they do that too, is you can work in and out and just get yourself, if you've got, you know, the Battle of Troy, like I said, if they, you know, you were showing all the thing, you get all that, well then you can send all the actors home. But that's your master shot, because the master shot, whatever it's doing, whether it's traveling around and doing all that stuff, whether it's over there, it's establishing everything. So we've established from the master shot that there's these two people talking. If there was a vase on the table or something like that, we've established that that's there. And so then you can move in and get all your coverage and your close-ups from that. So, you know, and that's where the continuity guy comes. If, you know, we've shot the master shot and a few things one day, and then somebody's come in and moved the vase, then we're in big trouble when we start, you know, getting some of the other shots that show the table. So the important thing to do, I think, in coming up with the shot list, like I said, is you want to do your due diligence, kind of think over the scene, kind of think how it's going to do, and think in the terms of master shot, and then down, what all do I need to tell the story? You know, And really, I think just starting out, you want to get as much coverage as you can, because that makes it easier, it makes the story flow. So you'll want close-ups, you'll want medium shots, you'll want extreme close-ups. Camera angles are important too to put in your shot, in the little descriptions on your shot list, like if larger than life. We might set our camera down at a lower angle, so that we're looking up at him. Or vice versa, if we want him to seem, a little less than manly or something like that, we might shoot him from above so that he's, seems smaller than he is. I will probably try and maybe or like I said, you can go on the internet and find it, I'm sure, as well. But it's also a good idea, in addition to knowing things like close-up, medium shot, it's also a good idea to kind of understand, like everybody thinks that a dolly shot is just any time that the dolly moves, but that's not the case. A real dolly shot is when it's moving towards you or away from you. So if it's moving left to right, it's actually a tracking shot. And the idea behind that is you're tracking along with somebody, you're going along like that versus dollying in or dollying out. And that's good to know because like if Galen's the cinematographer and I say, in my head, I'm like, ooh, I want him to start, over on Carolyn and move past Mike and kind of go this way and get everybody's face. But I say, dolly shot, then the first thing he's going to do is set the track. While I'm having coffee and a bagel, he's going to be setting the track up this way, instead of this way. And another good movie is to watch and kind of see how the director does it. Is this guy was phenomenal. I don't know what happened to him. He made this low-budget horror movie called Nomads with Pierce Brosnan. But from that, he got Predator, the original. Now, whether you like Arnold or not, that's a great movie. I mean, it's a good, suspenseful movie through the whole thing. His next movie after Predator was Die Hard, the original, with Bruce Willis, which is like one of the best action movies ever made. The movie he got after that was The Hunt for Red October, which is a phenomenal movie. So it's like boom, boom, boom. He does these 3 movies, and then he does a couple movies that kind of bomb, and now nobody knows what he's doing or anything like that. His name's John McTiernan, but The Hunt for Red October particularly, just watch it sometime and just watch the subtle camera moves. So like when Sean Connery is giving one of his speeches or something, the camera's just slowly going around him while he's doing it. There's always some kind of movement to everything with the camera. And it's not fast or jerky, it's just very subtle, but it makes the scene interesting, Not that Sean Connery can't make the scene interesting, but you know what I mean. I mean, it adds that kind of interest to it that makes you go, ooh, what's going on, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that vertigo shot that you're referring to, I think was that the camera was physically moving down, and while it was going from telephoto to wide angle, it was
right.
They were using to mess with you.
That's what they do. They do this thing where they dolly in on something, and while they're doing that, they're zooming out, or vice versa, and it just gives this weird. It keeps the guy. The one I think of that's classic all the time here again is, I guess I'm showing my generation, is from Jaws, when Roy Scheider is sitting on the beach and the kid is eaten, and they do that to his reaction, seeing the blood in the water. Oh. And to me, it's kind of like horseradish, use it sparingly, and then it's effective, kind of thing. Okay, you familiarize yourself with the different styles of shots, with the camera things, and then you start with your scene number. And you do this for every scene. So, can you play it, just the very first part for a second? Mm-hmm.
And does scene just mean one place?
A scene is the number. So it can be in the same place. We could be in this room and have 3 scenes.
Let me back up.
So,
So this is actually something that would be in the shot lists.
Right. So these are all things that were in the shot list. That was Kyle's idea to have the credits there. I thought
That was very cool.
That would be a separate shot, start out from, the back, moving forward. All these are different shots.
But same scene?
It's the same scene, right. It's what we said. This is basically one scene. It's guy walks down hall, or is prisoner being led down hallway. So for that one scene, I had like 15, 16 setups. Yeah.
Should have blacked out some of the teeth.
It's an example of it.
Well, he's a bad guy. So, like I said, I would have made this, we did it as one, but I would have made it 2 separate scenes because it's by the elevator now and had all the different stuff. And then that's the end of it, yeah. So you kind of saw it.
Difference in.
So when I was making that, I would have done one, and I would have done a master shot. And even though it wasn't at the beginning, it was basically the camera set up and everybody leading me down the hallway. So you saw everybody. You saw me, you saw, I can't remember anybody's name. Broen and
Ken,
Ken,
Rowan,
and
and
yeah.
Joe.
You know,
Yeah, Joe.
nobody says you have to have a good memory. Anyway, Ken and Broen, you know, and the guy behind, you know, the guard and everything. We're all going. That was the master shot. So that's what I had it down. I had master shot 1, and I put wide shot down hall around corner. So if you can picture the hall, there was a little bit, so it basically showed us coming around the corner and walking straight for the camera. It was just a little bit of a description of what it was. It was the master shot. It was wide shot down hall. Down hall. If we'd had a breakdown of it, it would have said the actor or the characters were the guard, the blah 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 blah. But I didn't need that because I knew all that. So this was just what we were going to do that day. Oh yeah. So at like 1A, I said, what did I say? I can't see that word. You know, we're gonna 1A was something. 1B
Something else.
was a close up of the prisoner. So we did the same thing, and we just watched, but the cameraman just kind of concentrated on me. Just kind of followed me like that. Then I did 1C close-up of the guard. So then we did the same thing. We walked down the hallway again. This time, you know, we went back to square one. This time we just got the guard's face in a close-up. And so you can imagine I did that, 1C, 1D for Broen, you know, close-up of his character, and 1E was a close-up of Ken. You know, then we got down to 1G. I wanted to do 1G I wanted to do from a reverse shot, basically. I put a reverse shot, close-up start, or extreme close-up start at guard's back. So that was a description of the one shot you saw where it was just a close-up of the guard's back, but you see us walking, you know, further like that. And then down there, I think it was 1I. It was a close-up of the keypad. You know, because I wanted to have I wanted to see a close-up of the keypad going. That was something that I visualized in my mind. Like, oh, that'd be nice to see the keypad, stuff like that. That shows that part of that is borne out too from the location, because we were in an elevator. So we wanted to do whatever we could to make it seem like it wasn't an elevator, you know. So what I see, 1J was a close-up of the guard at door, or guarding door. So 1J was a close-up of the guard, and he comes, and you know, they walk in, and he kind of turns around and he goes like this, right? Well, having read the script, about 10 pages later, there's a scream heard in the treatment room, and I thought it would be great to get a reaction of the guard kind of hearing the scream from inside the door. Well, we didn't want to shoot that when we were doing the other, so since I knew that and I had it on my shot list, I'm like, okay, while we're here and we're done, we're also going to do scene 9F, guard reacts to scream. So we got that shot because I knew that I was going to want it later. So part of what you do when you're making the shot list is you want to be as efficient as possible. So you go through the script and you think, okay, what we're going to shoot in here. What is in here? okay, we might have the murder scene, we might have the love scene, we might have whatever, but they're all in this room. So I'm going to make my shot list so that every single thing that I want to see happen in this room, we're doing the same day or the same period of time.
So you alluded earlier to the continuity guy.
Right.
So when you're talking about different scenes in the same location, the continuity person is like really important.
Yes, they are very important.
And is on a major production, is that one person's actual job or maybe
More. It just depends on the, You're at least going to have one, but you could have more depending upon the complexity of it. And they're around, not so much anymore, but back when I was first, they had the Polaroids. So they're taking hundreds of pictures of like what the table looks like. So, because you want, and you'll see, everybody makes, but like if we're shooting the scene and we come back the next day, we want the papers to look exactly like that when we go. So probably the two most important jobs with the director, other than the cinematographer, would be the continuity guy who kind of keeps track of all that, and the script supervisor, which is a whole nother lecture in itself, but it's something that I would highly encourage somebody here to kind of look into and become for whatever the next production is. What the script supervisor does is basically takes the page of the script, and they have a like their own little thing. So let's say we're starting this scene and we do the master shot. So they'd write one and then they put a little line there. And so we're taking the master shot and it goes all the way. So they do it a lot straighter than I would. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a new scene. So it goes down to there and then it ends. So they'd make a note like that. So now we can look and we say, okay, the master shot covered that whole thing. Then they might do 1A, and 1A starts in the same spot, but we only go to there. So 1A is like that. That's good for, and you do all of them, 1A, 1B, 1C, and kind of go as far. That's good for a number of reasons. One, it helps the editor know what you have. But two, it also helps the director because like maybe, let's say the master shot's not there. Let's say the master shot just went that far, and then there was another extreme close-up here, and it went that far, or something like that. Then the director can look and go, oh, wait a minute. We don't have anything of Sue saying this line. So then we can, go add a new shot, like 1D or whatever, like, okay, we've got to get a close-up of Sue. So you can just kind of, you look at the script, and the script supervisor can kind of keep an eye on things and say, oh, you covered that, you haven't covered that, the master shot does this. If it's bad or something, like, we might go, if we're really low on money, we might go, okay, the master shot, we did it, but, an airplane was going over Emma's and Sue's line right here. Rather than spend the money to do a master shot because of the script supervisor, we can go, okay, we're just going to get a close-up of Emma and Sue and cover it that way. And the editor can then look at it and go, ooh, I don't have that in a master shot. Let me see what else I have, and stuff like that. Anyway, so for that, even though we shot it in this order, as you could see from watching it, that's not the way it played. We started out with an extreme close-up of the wall, and stuff like that. It's just, shooting wise, it was efficient to get the wide shots first, go in, and go in. And when you're doing that kind of thing, now that scene we didn't have to, but let's say we're doing like 3 or 4 different scenes in here, and we light this doorway to, do something. But each scene has a different section at that door. We would want to shoot all of those scenes because it's easier to change the actor's clothes than it is to change all the lights. So that's part of what you do while you're developing the shot list. You might go, okay, I can shoot all those, but I need to shoot 9F now. Because, and the reason I say 9F is because when I'd done the shot list for the torture scene, I thought, okay, this. Ooh, it'd be good to have the guard's reaction. That's scene 9 and it's shot F, but I knew that we need to shoot it when we're shooting that. So when the camera guy put the slate 9F, then that was kind of a good clue that, okay, that goes to scene 9, not scene 1. Does that make sense to kind of understand what a shot list is and how the most important part of it is to always start with the master and to go down and just work your way in and do the to the medium shots, to the close-ups, to the extreme close-ups, and what they call the coverage of, you know, the coverage could be the, you know, over the shoulder shot or the close-up of the, you know, just anything to help build the scene, give it character, give the editor something to work with, that kind of thing.
Oh, these opening shots with the ceiling.
Yeah, the ceiling. Those were some of the last things we did. But that added, you know, gave the feeling, I was hoping to give the feeling of walking down the close-up of the, you know, the walking with the legs. So first you don't see that, you know, it just kind of builds these guys are being led down the hallway. Is he a patient? Is he whatever? Then hopefully it cuts to the change and you're like, oh, he's a prisoner. You know, it tells you something, gives you new information, but builds it up. It's not just happening all at once. I think I wanted to do the pipes. Yeah, I had in my mind the shot to do the pipes. So we did that, but it was Roman's idea, here again on set, oh, well, that grate looks really nice. Why don't we get a side shot? You know, and as the director, I was like, oh yeah, great idea, you know, okay, there's 1F or whatever, you know, whatever the next scene number, you know, is, okay, that's 1F, let's get that. And as you see, it worked out pretty good. That made an excellent point for him to go and get the thing. But the reason I think that we, also the fact that everybody worked hard and we had a great time, but we had a kind of a blueprint. So it wasn't a grueling day of, well, what are we going to do now? You know, and you know, the hardest part of a film set to me is sitting there and waiting for somebody to make a decision. Like, you know, okay, you know, wait here and stuff like that. Yeah.
One of the things that you did with this production of Do Unto Others, which we didn't do with Wormholes, is that you had rehearsal beforehand.
Yeah.
Is that common or is that unusual or is that up to the discretion of the
It's
director?
up to the discretion. Some like to do it. You know, back in the days of, well, you still do it, but with video you could pretty much keep all the footage. You know, but back in the days when it was film, and so you had to just kind of choose which ones you wanted to print because it cost so much money to do. They would say that Steven Spielberg would always, no matter what, print the first take because he always felt there was something magical about the camera first rolling on the scene, that there might be something there they could get. You know, a reaction or the delivery of a line that was just spot on that maybe not so much afterwards. So he would always print the first take. Here again, like I said, it's changed. With digital video, you can keep everything, which is great for us, but you know, bad for the editor that has 3 days to try and figure out how to piece everything together. You know, on the shoot here, I can't remember how it worked, but
it was the parade.
The parade was there, and it was going to be going on while we were shooting. So I think we actually went out and did this scene.
The hallway.
Yeah, we were going to do it last because we were going to get rid of everybody. You know, but we ended up going and doing it first because there's no sound to it, so we could care less if the parade was going. You know, at the time, and you know, like. The only reason I chose this scene is because, like I said, Phil had this idea to do 3 cameras going at once, so that was a little unusual. I still had a shot list, but I kind of had a shot list for each camera. And then the middle one, because of our artistic choice, it was all point of view shots. This was the only scene we did that was actually shot the way most movies are. We had the master shot, we did all our coverage and everything like that, and then the editor pieced it together from all these different static and moving shots. Yeah. It was hard to find everything and like, okay, is this camera A or B or C, you know, and stuff. And I think we would have been better off if we had a script supervisor that we could have looked and said, but we didn't. We had to just like, okay, I think there was a shot of this. And
we had to do what was on that paper in
Yeah.
our head.
Yeah.
And that got really hard. Yeah.
But does that, I guess the important thing is, do you understand what a shot list is, and could you possibly, I wanted to do kind of an exercise, but I guess we haven't, you know, could you put one together, you think, if you took a scene and think, okay, I'm going to do the master shot, I'm going to do a close-up. Just learn those things. Learn like see you as close-up, extreme close-up, etc.
I think you've done a great job explaining this, and what I'm curious is, you've alluded to dolly shots or tracking shots.
Right.
For instance, would it be 1B close-up of prisoner 2 and then say dolly, or does dolly come ahead of close-up?
You know, there's no, I just do whatever. Yeah, but you should
format.
have that information, you know.
Yeah, okay.
If it's a dolly shot, let them know it's a dolly shot.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, a dolly shot is, you know, going in and out. A tracking shot is side to side. A pan is different than a tracking shot.
Yes.
You know, a tracking shot, you're on, the whole camera is moving. A pan, the camera is steady
It rotates.
and just rotates.
Yeah.
You know, a tilt starts down and it just stays steady and goes up. As opposed to, I can't remember what it's called, a jib shot, or yeah,
Jib or boom.
where the whole camera is moving, you
Boom
know.
up or boom down.
Right, yeah, you'd say a camera shot, boom up from chair leg to Bonnie, close up Bonnie or something. So while Galen is setting up the dolly, whoever the lighting person is knows, okay, this shot is gonna go from here and it's gonna end up with a close up, you know, on Pat. So how do we need to light that? So they can be working on the lights while Galen's setting up the dolly, while the director's having coffee and the cinematographer's doing. But it all stems from having a good shot list so that you know what to do. And then, like we've said before, it's not written in stone. You know, if something better comes along, or another thing, like say we were running way behind, we needed to be done by 5, we're at a location, we have to be out by 5. What I would have done is I would have gone here and I said, okay, to me the most important shots are that one, that one, that one, and that one. I can still tell the story with those. The rest would just make it more interesting.
Get
You know?
those shots first.
Yeah, get those shots first. So if you have to stop, you can stop.
So the director is the CPU on all this, and
Yeah.
then you've got all the different apps who are
Yeah.
contributing their
Yeah.
data as in input from the rest
Right.
of your team. What is the job of an assistant director?
An assistant director is actually really just an organizer. They have really nothing to do with the artistic part of it. So like let's say we're doing it would be the assistant director's job to keep the crowd under control, to say, okay crowd, now we're getting ready to shoot, so you need to be quiet. Okay, you guys need to be over here at this time. You know,
Right.
basically, yeah, the director does the artistic stuff. The assistant director does all the organizational stuff that and the second assistant director, you know, depending upon the size of the production, you're gonna have 3 or 4 assistant directors doing things. But they do it's kind of like my sister told me about this businessman she had who was very successful. And she talked about his life, and the reason he was successful is because he had somebody doing his laundry, he had somebody cooking for him, he had somebody doing all of these things so that he could concentrate on running his business.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. The director concentrates on getting the film in the can. The assistant directors do all not piddly, but do all the stuff. Yeah, but do all the logistic stuff that would take away, you know. And that's why I said on a low budget thing like this, well, everybody's doing 6 or 7 jobs. That's why, you know, we still do good stuff, but it may not, you know, have the polish to it that, you know, Avengers has or something like that, because, you know, you work with what you have. The assistant director has the shot list, then he knows, okay, well, we're going to do a dolly shot next, so I need to talk to the cinematographer, I need to talk to the gaffer, the grip, all the people, whoever, you know.
Yeah. Right.
Those are all important
And,
little
yeah.
pieces.
And, and the director can go over and work with, you know,
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson to fine-tune his performance or something.
Do you take classes in this kind of thing? I mean, could you go to Linfield College? And
There are
take
some
classes
places I
on
think,
how to-
but you know, I went to school, and I'll tell you, you learn more just by being on a
Doing
film
it.
set. Yeah, just doing it and being on a film set, you'll learn more. You know, I remember I went to the UCLA extension program, so we took a lot of classes, and it was all out the window on the very first film shoot. That's the school. It really is. You know, I mean, those classes would be good for, I think, like if you wanted to learn just nuts and bolts terminology and how, like, if you're a cinematographer and you need to know about f-stops and that kind of thing, or editing, how the programs work. But as far as just actually making a movie, there's nothing like going out and doing it. That's where you learn.
Thank you very much, Kathy.